following in the path of Dynamite's footsteps. Now, in his very young days wrestling in the UK, Dynamite was the young, scrappy, skinny guy who would do most of the work tagging with Big Daddy. Then Davey Boy would do the same thing a few years later, because Big Daddy at this point was a huge draw, but he was also a huge, great big fat guy who really couldn't do very much.
That's right.
What was the word on Big Daddy that you heard, and what did you think of him sort of as a remote entity somewhere else?
No, he was interesting. He was a big draw in England, but he had very little talent. And he was Max Crabtree's brother, so that's why they gave him a push. But he was sort of like the George Goulas in Memphis, or Nashville, I guess. And I don't want to make comparisons to other wrestlers. There are certain guys like Greg Gagne or Mike Graham who maybe got a push because they were promoters' sons, but I would say they probably had considerably more talent than Big Daddy, in the ring. But there was a cliche, in a lot of promotions. If you're the promoter's son, the Sheik's son is another one. I think he wrestled Zed George, and some of them were very poor in the ring. They weren't inspired, they weren't well trained. They were just the promoter's sons, and then they got this major push, and that was what was happening with Shirley in England. Bruce had seen Shirley as well, when he first toured there in '77, and
you never wanted to bring him in then.
No, God, no. But I think Bruce had also seen that he had some interesting matches with Giant Haystacks, and even though their matches were probably pretty poor, there was a lot of interest because they were two giants, right? One was a huge baby face. You can knock Daddy's work rate and his level of training, and I think he was pretty arrogant and smug too among the other boys there, and he was probably getting the most pay. So there's a lot of resentment and animosity toward Big Daddy, and a lot of guys left, joined promotions, would work for Org Williams or Brian Dixon because they couldn't stand the push that Shirley was getting, but Bruce was kind of aware of that, but it also gave him a chance to see Dynamite as a partner of him and how well he could perform in tag matches, because Dynamite would go and sell his ass off, and then tag Shirley in, and you'd make the big comeback. But even in those moments, Bruce saw that Dynamite was incredible in tag matches, and Dynamite had great matches here in tags as well. He teamed with a lot of different guys, but so then we decided to bring Giant Haystacks over here, and we brought him over as part of J.R. Foley's army, this big monster heel that was going to wipe out the Harts and all the other baby faces, and he got over great. And then we tagged him with Dynamite, and it was sort of the giant, who had the bulk and the power, and Dynamite who had all the speed and impact moves, and it got over very well. And they had some incredible matches with Brett and Keith in tag matches, but just that idea of this giant heel brought a new dimension to the promotion, and I'd say Dynamite certainly brought a lot out of Haystacks when he came over here. And we built him as the Loch Ness Monster. It just seemed a better name. It was all part of this adage of the Sasquatch, or these fictional figures that had been seen in certain areas of Canada, in these forested areas. They'd seen a Sasquatch or someone, and so we kind of capitalized on that name stature and brought him in as the Loch Ness Monster, and it just made more sense too. I mean, we'd already seen Haystacks Calhoun here years earlier, so it gave him a new identity, a different name, but his tag matches with Dynamite really enabled him to get over. So especially since Luke was a little bit limited in singles matches, he couldn't go a long time. So when we put him in tag matches, Tom could do a lot of the work and soften guys up for Luke to get his heat on, basically. And Dynamite was doing a lot of the work there. But even as bad as Shirley Crabtree was, it brought out the best in some others, for guys that either worked against him or tagged with him. And Bruce sort of seized that opportunity, and he brought them in, and he brought Marty Jones in, who tag teamed with Dynamite. and they were an incredible tag team. And they had a good program with Bruce and Brett, and I think Marty eventually had like a cage match with Bruce, that sold out. So there was lots of different storylines and angles that we were able to do, but Dynamite was the pivotal force with a lot of that, and getting a lot of these guys over either as allies or opponents. And then he certainly helped Davey get launched a few years later.